Alright, so this video is going to be on Earth Rite rune, also known as Dirt Rune. This is an archetype that has been bad for a very long time in Shadowverse, but finally in Fortune's Hand it is a real deck. It is finally competitive after over a year of being unplayable garbage. So the main idea of this deck, it's actually multifaceted. It can be played in multiple different ways, but right now the popular way of playing it is more like a control deck, where you don't really build the board too much. You're trying to keep the opponent's board clean, and then reach turn 8. And then once turn 8 happens, then you have a number of different win conditions, depending on the opponent's life and the number of sigils you have destroyed. You can try to go for a big damage finish with a Forbidden Dark Mage, which deals damage based on the number of sigils destroyed. It's very similar to a card in the past called Dark Feastbat, which is a Bloodcraft card. And then if that's not enough, then you could also go for a life reduction game plan with the new card from Fortune's Hand, Linkle the Fool, combined with Kiaru, Caddy Sorceress. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the core cards and the supplemental cards. Alright, so let's take out all the supplemental cards. Okay, so as you can see here, the core cards is just 24 cards. This is a very light deck list. So there's a multitude of ways you can tech this deck list, multitude of ways you can build the deck. So most of the deck, the key parts of the deck consists of cards that generate Earth Sigils for cheap. And then the other part of the core is cards that eat up Earth Sigils, as in they have Earth Rite effects, and they have some kind of beneficial effect when you eat up an Earth Sigil. So key new cards include Juggling Moggy, which is probably the best one-drop ever printed for Rune. It's normally a 1-mana 1/1, there's nothing special, but then if you Earth Rite it, then it turns to a 2/2, and then it gains the last words of summoning 2 Earth Essences. So that's net positive. If it eats 1, then when it dies, it spits out 2. That's incredible. It's absolutely ridiculous. Next up is Magical Augmentation. This is a 1-mana spell. It's very similar to Angelic Snipe. So you deal 1 damage, but you can't go anything. You can't hit the enemy face. You can only hit enemy followers. However, if you have 2 sigils on the board, then it eats them up, and now it deals 4 damage instead, and also draws 2 cards. That's an amazing rate. 1 mana deal 4 is something that a lot of classes can do right now, but then to also draw 2 cards off of it is insane. Now, it is expensive in terms of Earth Sigil expenditure, but being able to just increase your hand size by 2 is more than worth it. And then Cauldron is just the best 1-mana sigil available. We have the 0-mana sigil from last expansion here. We have Earth Sorceress. It's a very efficient draw engine. She draws cards based on the number of sigils you have on the field. So she could potentially draw 4, which is insane for a 2 PP 1/3. Virtual Walker Magician is one of the best 2-drops ever made for Dirt. He has full stats, he gives you Earth Sigil, and then on Evolve, if you have 1 sigil, he deals 2 AoE damage, and if you have 2 sigils, he deals 4. That is incredible. A potential 2 PP deal 4 one-sided AoE damage is an amazing rate. Next up we have Mirror of Truth, which is very similar to Clark, which is a card that recently rotated out. Basically, it creates a sigil, and then has a couple of extra effects. If the opponent has a 2-drop or a 1-drop in play, then it copies it. And then if you have a sigil beforehand, if you already have a sigil in the field for playing it, then it also adds a Verdict Ritual into your hand. Now, that Verdict Ritual is actually very important to this deck's game plan, and I'll explain why in a second, when we get to the supplemental cards. And then finally we have Forbidden Dark Mage. This is basically Dark Feastbat, or what people call Dirt Feastbat. It's a 2/2, which is nothing special, but then it gains stats based on how many sigils you have destroyed, and then the Fanfare effect allows you to target anything, and it deals damage based on the number of sigils destroyed, plus its own stats. So for example, if you've destroyed 6 sigils, it deals 8 damage, right? Because it's 6 plus 2, because it starts out at 2 base stats. Now, alongside that, this card is not dead in the early game, because if your hand is awful, or if your field is clogged with sigils, you can crystallize it for 1. It gives you a damage protection effect of capping it out at 4 damage. And not only that, it makes it so that at the end of the turn, you draw a card. And at the start of turn, it just eats up an Earth Rite, or it eats up an Earth Sigil. So if you have a full board of sigils, this is always guaranteed, if you crystallize it to be 1 mana draw 1, but if you have a full board of sigils and it eats through all of them, it could be 1 mana draw 4 over 4 turns. So that's incredible. This is just such a super good flexible card. Alright, so this is the core of the deck. Now I want to talk about the different ways to build the deck and what is the optimal way. So early on in this expansion, what a lot of people thought was the best way to build this deck was to just do pure Earth Rite. So basically go in the search bar and look at every single card that says Earth Sigil or Earth Rite and put it in here. And that's what people are doing. And so I'm actually going to get out of the screen here. That deck looks like this. So you can see this is the deck that's just pure Earth Rite. It's got basically every single card that says Earth Rite or Earth Sigil in its text. We're not running any 3-drops because Rune 3-drops right now are awful and not worth playing. But we have the new cards like Creative Conjure, which is very, very flexible, right? It's a 2/2. It gives you a sigil if you have no sigils, and then if you have a sigil, then it eats it up and it gives you a golem summoning, which is just like Conjure Guardian. And the new Imperator of Magic, which is one of the new golds from this expansion. So right now, this deck, after many people have tested it, it's now considered to be obsolete. It is much worse than the other version of the deck, which I haven't talked about yet. However, I do want to point out this deck, and I want to mention it because I could consider this to be a budget version of the deck. This version of the deck has only 2 playsets of legendaries, right? It's got the new card, Adamantine Golem, which is a legendary, and it's got Forbidden Dark Mage. So if you are on a budget, then I would recommend playing this deck first. And then if you really like it, then you can move on to the other version of the deck, which is quite a bit more expensive. Okay, so in this version of the deck, one of the new legendaries is Adamantine Golem. It is a 6-drop. It's a 5/6, and it has a bunch of effects. All of them are very, very good. Number 1 is if you draw on your turn and you have 2 sigils or less on your field, then it creates a sigil for you for free. And then if you play it on 6, then it does all these different effects at random. It can either summon a 3/3 ward, it can give you a free Witch Snap, or it deals 2 damage to enemy leader and heals yourself for 2, so like a 4 life swing. So one of these effects always happens, and then it repeats it based on the number of sigils you have to play. So for example, if you play Adamantine when you have 2 sigils, that means it's going to do these 3 effects randomly 3 times. And then if you play on the full board of 4 sigils, it'll do them 5 times. So it always does it once, and then repeats it for how many sigils you have. So this is just an amazing, amazing, amazing card. One of the best 6-drops in the meta right now. Lots of value, and does all sorts of things. But unfortunately, the effects are RNG based, so sometimes you can't get screwed over by it. All right. Now, so this is pure Earth Rite. You can consider this to be the budget version of the deck. Now, what right now is considered to be the optimal version of the deck is this one. The list I'm showing here is not my own. It is Azure Cloud's list. It is the same list that's featured on the Tempo Storm website, the tier list. So as you can see from Azure Cloud's list, we have 2 new legendaries added. Number 1, we have a card called Linkle the Fool. This is a 2-drop, and when you play her, she gives you 1 of 2 tokens that you can pick from. You pick the Rite of the Ignorant, or you pick the Scourge of the Omniscient. Now in this deck, we only care about the Scourge of the Omniscient. This is a 2 PP spell. When you play it, it gives a leader an effect where at the end of their turn, their max HP is reduced by 1. Now, that effect is not very impressive on its own. It's actually quite poor on its own. However, the thing about the Fool is that if you play it early, the earliest you can play this is turn 2, right? And then turn 3, you play the Scourge afterwards. If you play it on turn 3, then by the time you reach turn 8, assuming you're going first, that means the opponent will have lost 5 max life, right? They'll have gone from 20 to 15, assuming you haven't hit them at all. So if that happens, that is very, very strong when you combine it with this card, Kyaru, Caddy Sorceress. I also forgot to mention that this card, the HP reduction stacks. So if you play multiple of them, then they each stack by themselves. So while Linkle is not all that great by herself, she has an amazing synergy with Kyaru. And Kyaru, when you play her, she's an old card from Colosseum. She reduces the enemy's max life by 5. So combined with the Fool, you can reduce your enemy's life by an insane amount very, very quickly. And that does 2 things. Number 1 is that brings them in range to be killed by Dark Mage. And it also makes it so that this deck can play like the old Turbo Kyoto decks of the past, where you just played Kyoto multiple times. So there's a lot of different lethal setups this creates. In general, for this deck, one thing that's really important is as you're playing it, you should always keep in mind, or maybe even write down, like what turn you activate the Scourge Curse. So the earliest possible turn you can activate is turn 3, because you have to play Linkle on 2, then turn 3 play the Curse. And so generally, for this deck, assuming you're able to draw 1 Linkle and 1 Kyaru, you can generally guarantee a lethal on turn 9. At the very, very earliest. And if you're lucky, if you draw additional copies, you can guarantee it on turn 8. So, a very, very common setup is to play Linkle on 2, play the spell on 3, and then draw into 2 Kyarus after that. Because think about it this way, if you go first and you drop and you play the spell on 3, by the time turn 8 arrives, they'll have lost 5 max HP. So if you already play 1 Kyaru by then that's minus 5 minus 5 is minus 10, right? And so that means the second Kyaru you play, assuming you have your Universe activated, will do another 10 damage, which just kills the opponent. And that kind of win condition is very, very hard to stop. Indeed, that is one of the main reasons why people play this version of the deck over the pure Dirt version, because the pure Dirt version has this severe weakness in that many decks in the meta have tons of healing, which makes it so that Dark Mage is very, very rarely lethal on curve. And many decks also have ways to either protect their face from spell damage, or they have ways of mitigating damage. For example, they could play, like Blood can play Azazel, Haven has the Union Burst on Yukari, Sword has the enhance, or not the enhance, but the Evo effect of Steadfast Samurai. So Pure Dirt has a severe weakness to those kind of cards, because it kind of goes all in Dark Mage, right? Like, the deck is heavily reliant on Dark Mage, and basically if you don't draw Dark Mage, or if your opponent is able to have some way to counter it, then your deck literally cannot win. So that is the reason why people play this version now, which is plays more like a control deck. So yeah, this deck plays a control deck, which makes it very different than old versions of Dirt. So earlier on, I don't want to go to that screen again, but earlier on when I was going over the core cards, it might seem weird that I didn't have this card, Adamantine Golem, in the core, because this card is amazing, right? So why exactly is it not in the core? Well, one of the main issues of Rune is one of the classic class weaknesses is that the class lacks a reliable way to heal. And Adamantine can heal you, but it's RNG based, right? It's not guaranteed to heal you. So what many people do, what I've seen a lot of people do, is they just cut Golem and they run the World instead, which is the new legendary from the set. Now, in my opinion, I think this is crazy, but it's hard to argue the results because people have done very, very well with this. Okay, so that's basically Dirt. It plays more like a control deck now instead of a mid-range deck. And then in terms of tech cards, the World is one. Madcap is another new card that many people consider to be core. Madcap discards your hand, and then it has a bunch of other effects after that. If 2 spells were in that pile, then you draw 5. If 2 followers in there, then it wipes the board completely. And if 2 amulets were in there, then you summon 2 clay golems, and then you also deal 2 damage to the enemy leader. Now, the most important effects are the first 2. Drawing 5 is amazing. If there's a key card you're looking for, then it can sometimes be worth it to just completely abandon your hand to draw 5. And then the second effect is also very important, especially after evos are gone. Sometimes it can be hard for this deck to control the board. And so being able to do a 2 mana board wipe is absolutely insane, even with the severe downside of losing your entire hand. So many people run 3 Madcaps, but I actually really like Azure Cloud's decision here to run 2. Because Madcap, while it is a broken card, it's a card that you only want to see when you're losing. And, you don't want to be losing in most matches, right? So I do think 2 is the correct amount. I agree with them here. Other tech cards, the problem is that this deck doesn't actually have that many spells, right? Like, other than Madcap, it's got Magical Augmentation. So getting the 2 spell requirement can be very, very difficult. Now, keep in mind that there are other cards in this deck that can potentially generate spells. Like Linkle could generate a spell, Mirror of Truth generates a spell, Adamantine might generate you a spell based on RNG. Now, if that's not enough, some people do like to run additional spells, so things like Mystic Absorption, Disintegration, Authoring Tomorrow, right? Those are all fair game for tech cards. And then if you want to take this deck and go more all in on the Kyaru game plan, you could take a note from the previous Turbo Kyaru decks and run cards like Mysterian Project. And then Imperative Magic is another tech card you could run. It's just a really, really solid 4-drop. You know, it has a lot of value, puts a lot of stats on the board. Also recovers an Evo point, which is really, really useful. So, last thing I want to mention with this deck is the importance of Mirror of Truth. So, in this deck, most of the time when you go for lethal, when you try to kill your opponent, very, very rarely does Dark Mage actually kill them, because there's so much healing in this meta right now. Most of the time you're going for a Kyoto lethal. So I said before, there's a couple of guaranteed setups you have, right? Like Link Hull into 2 Kyotos kills the opponent most of the time going first. Double Link Hull into Kyoto also kills him. Sometimes, however, you're off by 1 turn, right? You didn't really draw your cards like early enough, and you know, Kyoto Union Burst at the end doesn't really kill your opponent, but it might leave them just a few points of life. So that's where Mirror of Truth comes in. Sometimes, especially if you go second, if you have Link Hull on 2, and then Kyoto, then the Union Burst on turn 8, that doesn't kill your opponent but leaves them with 2 life. And so that's why Mirror of Truth is so good, because then if you play Mirror of Truth at some point, generate the Verdict, and then just keep the Verdict in your hand, then on turn 8 you play Union Burst Kyoto into the Verdict, and that does a bazillion damage. Because in theory, Kyoto on Union Burst does 10 damage, so 10 plus 3 is 13, which is a lot of damage. And that's damage that can't be healed from because of her effect. So yeah, that's basically Dirt. Right now it's considered to be one of the best decks in the meta, and it's pretty skill testing, so I highly recommend it. So again, if you want to play the budget version of the deck, then play Pure Dirt, and if you like it, then go ahead and upgrade it to this version, the Control version, which now has 4 playsets of legendaries with Linkle, Kyoto, Adamantine, as well as Dark Mage, and then you might run the world depending on your own preference, if you want a consistent source of healing. Alright, Rune versus Sword. We're going second, which is a little problematic.
My blade dances, heads roll.
Oh, let's keep a 2-drop. Honestly, here, I kept Imperator. That was probably a mistake, to be honest. You know, Imperator is a good card, but keeping it just for the Evo effect going second is a little greedy, so that was already a misplay on my part. I feel like I definitely should have tossed Imperator.
Imagine meeting you here.
Pretty good draw. We got Linkle. That's our ideal 2-drop.
We won't give him an inch.
Alright. So, ideally in most matchups, Linkle is your best 2-drop, and you want to get the Curse, you know, the Scourge or the Omniscience set up as soon as possible.
Get ready for war.
Alright, now however, since this is Sword, playing Scourge now might make us, you know, fall behind on board way too much. So instead, what I do here is I do Dark Mage and card draw.
The earth rains from above.
Alright, so trade into the 1/1, easy.
Time to retreat.
Alright, now we got the Verge Walker, now we're in good shape. This is one of our key cards against Sword. Like, see, that board right here, this would normally be extremely scary, but we have the answer. Now, however, even though we have the answer, the question is it even worth using it? Because this is just a 2/2 and a 4/3, and our hand has a lot of value in it. So we could blow the Verge Walker now, or we could save it later for a more scarier board. So, in my opinion, even though we could technically Verge Walker here by doing Verge Walker, play a Sigil, then Evolve for a free clear, this board isn't really that scary. Especially since we already have 2 like single target removals. Like we have a Ethereal Golem and we have Magical Augmentation. So I actually think the correct play here is to be greedy. Play the Ethereal Golem. Set the Curse up. And then wait for next turn. Normally Fieron is kill on sight. But because it's very, very difficult for Sword to have like any like large toughness boards in turn 5, like yeah, that's gonna buff itself and the board next turn, right? But we have Verge Walker, we're fine. And we also have Augmentation. So this is a calculated risk, but I think it is worth it in this case. Alright, see, Samurai would normally be very scary, right? If we have buff to a 4/4, you know, it's immune to combat damage, but that's fine. Now, my opponent there, you might notice, did not attack. And, you know, there's a reason for that. It's not a misplay. It's not like my opponent just forgot to attack. My opponent intentionally did not attack, because right now in Dirt Rune, it is very, very common to see Dirt Rune run 1 or 2 copies of the world. So my sword opponent probably got tired of, like, you know, Dirt out healing damage and just intentionally didn't attack me to not put me at below 14th health. Now, joke's on him, because of course I don't have the world. Not only do I not run the world in my deck, but even if I was, I don't have it in my hand. So, I mean, I guess that was a misplay in his part, but he had no way of knowing, right? At the same time, I have a full hand, so even if I had the world, I'll be very hesitant on playing it here, because if I played it, I would just overdraw. But anyways, that's the reason why my opponent didn't attack me. Now we have an answer anyways.
Chaotic good.
I'll lay a flower in your memory.
Hey, Syntheros is up. I see you in chat right now.
Wrongdoing? Me? Perish the thought.
I'm recording a replay right now. Alright, so we get a full clear here. It's unfortunately it's a Suicide Evo, but we have a 2-2 left over, which is the Sigil. This also sets up for the Imperator next turn if we need it.
You forfeit your life.
No Gelt, please. That's the best one.
I will support the vanguard.
You got the Gelt. So there's 2 ways you can do this trade. You could trade the Gelt in or trade the 6 in. It's generally better to trade the Gelt in because the Gelt survives, and then my opponent's left with a 6-6, which is fairly awkward for Rune to deal with. Usually you got a Suicide Evo into it. So yep, correctly trades the Gelt in. Now you have 2 bodies on the field. Okay. We have a couple of different options here. Imperator is sadly not enough because it's at 4 sigils destroyed, so if I'm playing Imperator, it'll destroy that. We'll get to 5, which is just one off from Cleany taking care of the Amelia. So what I end up doing here is I play another sigil and I do augmentation to search for an answer. Search for a more efficient answer, at least. And we don't really get it. However, we do get a Moggy, which is really great, because Moggy allows us to net 1 more sigil. So now we get a Suicide Evo something into the 6-2.
Enough of this indulgence!
Alright, Suicide Evo. Now my opponent's left with 3-1. Not the worst thing in the world. Alright, that's scary. At this point, Rally 7's activated. My opponent gets a free Evo. 2 free Evos. Alright, also, now my opponent, I think, is playing way too cautiously. In order for Sword to win this matchup, generally Sword should try to win before the late game win cons come down. So my opponent tries to play Beyond the World again by not attacking me. But I feel like at this point, it's definitely a mistake to not attack. Because, you know, if this game goes on turn 9, I'm probably going to win, barring some crazy miracle. So that was definitely a mistake. Like, he's definitely playing way too hard around the world at this point. Alright, so right now, my opponent's at 17 max HP, right? Because we got the curse activated on turn 3, I believe. If we play Kyaru, we have 2 Kyaros in hand. We drew a Fool and 2 Kyaros, which is usually death. So usually that guarantees turn 9 lethal, and if you're lucky, it could be turn 8 lethal, depending on how early you got these Union Bursts. Both these Kyarus are... Oh, actually, this one's Union Burst 8. This one's Union Burst 9. So no matter which one we Evo, next turn the Union Burst will be active. So we play 1 Kyaru, then the opponent will get minus 5 health at 12. And then Union Burst Kyaru the next turn is minus 10, and then plus the Verdict Ritual is going to be lethal. So pretty easy play here. Kyaru, fully clear the boards, put the opponent at 12 health, and then next turn Union Burst Kyaru kills. Alright, so we have a big scary board. Force the opponent to deal with it. That costs 1 right now, I think. Yes. Your image for double Kage. Not even Rally 15 yet. That's game. That's game. Yeah, so this is how most matches end with Rune. It's not the, not even the Forbidden Dark Mage lethal. This is not even enough damage, it's only 9 right now. Most matches end this way. You end with HP reduction. So Kyaru, the universe is active, so it basically deals 10, and then 10 plus 3 is lethal.
覚悟はいいかしら。グリムバースト。
Time to retreat.
How uncouth.
Let us proceed.
I hope you're ready to escort me.
But yeah, this deck is a lot harder than it looks, so I guess we keep this, huh? Yeah, so I think from now on, I'm probably not going to play Rune anymore in GPs. I'll just, I'll play on ladder to practice, and then when I feel confident, I'll bring the GP. But from now on, GP, I'll probably, if I really want to qualify, I'll pick like Blood or Sword. Yeah, because I'm not really that good at this deck yet. Alright, that's good. This is Blood, so if we can find Fool, we probably just win for free. This is a very favorable matchup for us, as long as we can find our max HP reduction cards. That's fine. I'm gonna copy that. There's our Dark Mage.
It tastes better than it looks.
Wow, really? Beautiful. Beautiful, okay. So this is a matchup where Verge Walker is very rarely good, because Blood doesn't usually build a strong board until the Neria turns, so we're going to save the Verge Walker for turn 6 and after. Next turn, we're going to do Linkle Evolve. It's basically free at that point. His hand must be really bad if he's willing to play Creeping now. Ilya, wow, that's awful. That's actually really bad for my opponent to play Ilya there. He must be very desperate, although that's annoying. That's really annoying. I guess we do this, right? Yeah. Alright, so we've gone to 16. Not quite into the world range. All we care about for this matchup is just lowering max HP. Oftentimes, damage on board doesn't really mean much, because they can heal it up anyways. But they can't heal up from max HP reduction. Razor Claw, interesting. Wow, alright, sure. That's fine. Madcap, huh? I mean... what do we do next turn? Next turn I'm probably going to play Kyaru. Oh, okay, that works, sure. So we take 2 here. This is actually really bad for us, wow. Oops, sorry. Unfortunately, I mean, we still Kyaru here, right? As much as I would like to Adamantine, it's more important to just lower his health. Although, you know what? No, we're fine. Let's do this. No problemo. Nice. This is gonna be... No, let's do this.
This should finish things.
I am expecting a Neria, so I need to play around it. This is a suicide trade, but it's stronger against Neria. Looks like he has it. Mm-hmm. No Evo? Interesting. Not what I expected. Well, I guess I should still hit him, huh? We're getting there. We are getting there. Next turn, probably? I wonder about this.
Lawful evil? Chaotic good.
This puts him at 13. He's probably gonna world me again, maybe?
Wrongdoing? Me? Perish the thought.
I'm just thinking I should play around it. Is it worth playing around? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. God damn it. Well, regardless, we have Kyoto next turn. But if it's a strong turn 8, this could be really bad for us. He did have it. Yeah. But we have the Kyoto. 12 damage, huh? Miss, miss, miss. Nice. Thank you. Thank you very much. That helps a lot. Alright, so we can't kill him, right? We do 12, but we have Kyoto, which does, right now it'll do 11, minus 5 is 6. We don't have enough, but this is fine. Tensai Taki.
It was nearly done.
So he's dead next turn unless he Azazels me. He might Azazel me, actually. That's kind of bad if he does it. Let's do this. I might regret this play. I might regret it. Because I might need a Madcap, or I might need to play Augmentation to Madcap. He did have it. Normally this would be Suicide, but we don't have another Kyoto, so this is actually really bad for us. Damn. We might lose now. Damn. We might lose what's supposed to be a favored matchup. Uh-oh. I think we're dead next turn. Damn. I think we're actually dead. Damn, we're actually dead. There's no way we can survive next turn. He has enough burn to kill me. Well, I can't believe we lost this matchup. This is supposed to be a good matchup for us, but I messed up. Let me see what happens here. We have the Madcap here, right? Followers... Sure... Probably dead. Probably dead. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Alright. Well, he should be able to kill me. If he can't kill me, we win, but he could probably kill me. It's very, very trivial for Blood to have 3 burn spells. So I didn't give him a target, but it's really not difficult. Okay, he needs 3, yeah. 3 burn spells. 2 burn spells now. I'm at 6, so double lightning bolts. Yep, there's one. Another one? Nice. Damn, we lost.
I will not let this sadness go to waste.
That sucks. Usually a favorite matchup. Could I play differently? I don't know. It's possible that I should have just played the Kyaru earlier, but yeah. I mean, you can see, like, I'm not very good at this deck. That's supposed to be an extremely easy matchup, but I ended up losing. It was close, though. I like the system now, where your master points don't reset, so it allows people to get to GM at their own pace. Because, like, even when you get to GM, like, the rewards aren't, like, amazing, right? You get a flare, you get a card back. Sometimes the card back is really nice, but it's not, like, amazing rewards, so I do like their change. I'm not gonna keep Moggy this time. God damn it. Okay, I should have kept Moggy. Well, you can never predict these things. They happen all the time. Alright, it's a Dirt Mirror. We're going first, that's good. He's got the turn 1 Moggy, so now I feel really dumb about not keeping my Moggy. Pretty funny. I'm using a new deck list right now because I wanted to see how different the deck plays when you have what is that? When you have Madcap. But so far I haven't had a chance to play a single Madcap, so I have no idea how different the deck is. Oh baby. Alright, our hand's bad. So you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna play Dark Mage. I need a draw. You've gotten burned a lot for keeping Magi, yeah. Yeah, because as broken as it is, right, it being a 1-drop that turns to 2/2, you don't always get sigils to combo with it. So it makes sense. Nice. Let's draw some cards. That's good. Should I play Moggy here? No, I'm not gonna play Moggy here. The Cat's Name, yeah, it's Moggy. Okay, so he curses me, which is unfortunate. That means even though we're going first, he has an advantage because he pulled off the curse before I did. However, we're going first, which means that our Dark Mage game plan is a lot more reliable. What do we do here? Let's do this. Adu. 3 sigils. Okay. Yeah, like I'm a really casual player, right? I'm not really competitive at all. I don't join tournaments, and before the change, like the highest I've ever climbed 1 month was like 6.5k. So I never did rich GM, but once they added the change during the oh, this guy's so smart. He didn't. Oh, this guy outplayed me so hard. That was good. That was really smart by him. That was so smart by him. I'm actually really surprised. He didn't kill my Moggy, which means it makes my Adamantite turn much more awkward. So I guess we're gonna save Kyaru for a Union Burst, so let's draw some cards first. Beautiful. We got our Dark Mage. So what we can do is we do Augment... Actually, should we do Augment? Augment's fine, yeah. It does feel bad to waste it on a 1/3, but we want to go through sigils. Nice, so that dies, we get 2 sigils. We can't get bricked here, so I think we're fine. Wait, no, that's going to eat a sigil, god damn it. Let's play it. We're okay. We can't get bricked anymore. But yeah, like when they introduced the rank change to the Coliseum meta, that was the first time I got GM. So he's gonna have to evolve here, right? We're at 13, which is really, really bad. Wow, our life is so low right now. If he drew all Kyotos, I'm gonna be really, really boned in this game. Let's go. Please give me all the face damage, please. Nice. Yes. Beautiful. That's what I like to see. Alright, hold on. He doesn't have that many Earth Sigils destroyed, right? He's at 2. Wow, that's pathetic. Okay. Yeah, like the whole esports movement I think is just a huge mistake in general. Like I used to play fighting games before card games, and like the esports also ruined fighting games as well. So I really don't like the esports movement. I feel like you should give games some time to develop, right? Time to develop a community, time to develop a competitive players before thinking about esports. But then what side games did with Shadowverse was they dived immediately to esports, even before there's a community. So, I mean, honestly, I know it's subjective, but that was something about it that I think was a mistake on their side on marketing. So I think we kill him with Dark Mage, right? So yeah, we do way more. We do enough damage, but he's probably gonna crystallize here to defend himself. Yeah, smart. Okay. All right, we have been cursed once. He can't kill me with Dark Mage. Kyaru. Kyaru. Let's do this. What do we get here? Ah, that's useless. Actually, that's fine, we did some damage. This is at 8 to 4 health. Let's do like this.
This should finish things.
He still has 1 Evo left, unfortunately. Alright, so... Assuming he doesn't... Oh god, I just said assuming he doesn't heal, but I forgot. He does get healed for 1 because of the Dark Mage. But if he didn't heal, like if he was still at A, we do have lethal next turn with Kyoto Union Burst. That is not a Union Burst. Wow. Close game. Let's see here. Yeah, like when you have 20 less, the golem does evolve. Can we kill him here? We can, right? Yeah, we got it. It's over. It is over. You are dead. We did it. That was a rough game. But yeah, Dirt Mirror is really awkward because both decks actually have a lot of ways to play around the other deck's game plan. So the instant you see Dark Mage get crystallized, you have to make a lot of weird plays. And Dirt Mirrors only become really stupid when like both players draw all their HP reduction effects, especially if they draw all their Fools and Kyotos, and at that point it just becomes stupid. It's like, oh well, let's just not do anything and let me just repeatedly lower your max life. Then it becomes really boring when that happens. But when both players don't draw their Fools and Kyotos, then the game is a lot more interesting.